Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will dive deep into one of the most intriguing missed opportunities in recent storylines, the potential Who's Your Daddy drama surrounding Jason Morgan and how it could have reshaped alliances in Port Charles. Jason Morgan has endured an extraordinary array of trials throughout his time on ABC General Hospital, facing everything from severe brain injuries that altered his personality forever, to relentless stalkers who threatened his very existence, and not one, but two dramatic returns from what everyone believed was certain death. These experiences have solidified his role as one of the show's most resilient and enigmatic figures, constantly pulling him into webs of danger, loyalty, and hidden truths. Yet, when Jason made his shocking comeback to Port Charles in 2024, there was a particular plot twist that countless fans were eagerly anticipating, one that promised intense rivalries and emotional revelations. Unfortunately, the writers chose a different path, leaving this storyline dangling like an unsolved mystery in a Quartermaine mansion's attic. Imagine the layers of complexity it could have added: old grudges resurfacing, family secrets exploding, and Jason's stoic facade cracking under the weight of unexpected paternity questions. This untapped narrative had all the ingredients for classic soap opera gold, blending romance, betrayal, and high-stakes confrontations that could have kept viewers on the edge of their seats for months. To understand why this missed chance feels so poignant, we have to rewind to the core of Jason's latest disappearance and reappearance. Fans were quick to discover that his absence was orchestrated by none other than John Jagger Cates, who coerced Jason into undercover work for the FBI, turning him into a reluctant operative in a dangerous game of shadows. This revelation came with high tension, as Jason navigated the moral gray areas of loyalty to his family versus forced obedience to federal demands. But the connection between Jason and Jagger runs far deeper than this modern-day intrigue, stretching back to the vibrant, drama-filled 1990s era of the show. Back then, Jason was still known as Jason Quartermaine, a privileged heir with a bright future, while Jagger, portrayed by the charismatic Antonio Sabato Jr., was a brooding outsider with a magnetic pull. Their paths crossed in a heated rivalry over the affections of Karen Wexler, a young woman caught in the crossfire of their competing desires. Karen's character brought a fresh dynamic to the show, her vulnerability and strength making her a fan favorite. As she navigated the turbulent waters of love and ambition in Port Charles, the two men clashed repeatedly, with Jagger's passionate declarations clashing against Jason's more calculated approach, creating sparks that lit up the screen and left audiences debating who was the better match for her. In the end, Karen chose to pursue a relationship with Jason, a decision that fueled Jagger's resentment and led to memorable confrontations filled with jealousy and unspoken regrets. Despite Jagger's persistent claims that Karen was destined to be with him, claims delivered with that signature intensity that made his character so compelling, she stood by her choice, building a life with Jason that, while short-lived, left an indelible mark on both men. Tragically, Karen's story ended in sorrow with her untimely death, a plot point that added layers of grief and unresolved tension to the show's history. Fast forward to 2024, when Jason and Jagger's paths crossed again in Port Charles. The ghosts of their past loomed large. Their conversations inevitably turned to Karen, stirring up old emotions and unspoken accusations in scenes that crackled with subtext. It was as if the writers were teasing a revival of that 90s fire, but instead of fully igniting it, they let it simmer. Adding to this backdrop was the emerging romance between Dex Heller and Jocelyn Jacks, a pairing that brought its own share of heartfelt moments and challenges. Dex opened up to Jocelyn about his painful childhood, marked by abandonment and hardship, painting a picture of a young man shaped by loss and determination. These disclosures not only deepened their bond, but also subtly mirrored the turbulent family dynamics that have long defined General Hospital's most iconic characters. Viewers with sharp memories might recall the timeline. Jason's presumed death in a tunnel collapse in 2021 left a void in Sonny Corinthus's operation. And just months later, Sonny encountered Dex at a local gym. There was an immediate spark of recognition. Dex's demeanor, his quiet strength, and his unwavering loyalty reminded Sonny so vividly of Jason that he didn't hesitate to bring him into the fold as a replacement enforcer. This hiring wasn't just a plot convenience, it felt like fate intervening, setting the stage for deeper revelations about Dex's origins. The pieces were aligning perfectly for a bombshell. What if Dex was revealed to be the long-lost son of Karen Wexler, This twist would have thrust Jason and Jagger back into a fierce paternity battle, each claiming fatherhood based on their past with Karen. Picture the courtroom drama, the DNA tests, the heated arguments in the Metro Court. It could have explored themes of legacy, forgiveness, and the enduring impact of lost love. Jason, with his history of stepping up for children like Jake and Danny, might have grappled with the responsibilities of an unknown heir, while Jagger's FBI persona could have clashed with his personal demons, adding intrigue to his already complex character arc. Fans could have seen flashbacks to the 90s, perhaps with new invented scenes showing tender moments between Karen and her suitors, or even hints of a secret affair that blurred the lines of paternity further. Alas, this promising storyline hit a dead end when Dex met a brutal fate at the hands of Cyrus Renault. Earlier this year, a shocking murder that shifted the narrative focus and left many viewers mourning the loss of potential. Instead, the "Who's Your Daddy" trope was redirected to Joe Palmieri, who discovered his true parentage involving Brooklyn Quartermain and Dante Falconeri, leading to emotional family reunions and adjustments in the Quartermain household. Gio's journey brought its own charm, with themes of identity and belonging, but it couldn't quite capture the raw intensity that a Jason Jagger-Dex triangle would have delivered. Yet, in the ever-twisting world of Port Charles, where death is rarely permanent, there's always room for resurrection. We've seen it time and again, characters like Britt Westburn and Nathan West defying the grave, their returns injecting fresh energy into ongoing plots. Jason himself is a prime example, having clawed his way back from oblivion twice, each time with more secrets and scars, inventing a scenario where Dex survived Cyrus's attack, perhaps through a clandestine rescue or a body double switch, isn't out of the realm of possibility. Maybe he's been in hiding, piecing together clues about his heritage, ready to storm back into town with evidence that reignites the feud between Jason and Jagger. This could open doors to entirely new subplots, Dex allying with unexpected characters like Nina or Ava to uncover the truth, or even a romantic complication if his feelings for Jocelyn pull him back into the fray. The writers could delve into Karen's backstory more deeply, perhaps revealing hidden diaries or letters that confirm her pregnancy, and the circumstances of Dex's birth, adding emotional depth and tying loose ends from decades ago. It would be a nod to longtime fans who remember the 90s rivalries, while introducing newer viewers to the rich history of these characters. As General Hospital continues to evolve, keeping such possibilities alive ensures the show remains a staple of daytime drama, full of surprises and heartfelt moments. What do you think, GH fans? Should the writers bring back Dex and explore this paternity puzzle? Next, we will uncover the explosive developments surrounding Rick Lansing's captivity, and the shocking twists that could upend everything in Port Charles. In the swirling chaos of ABC General Hospital, Rick Lansing finds himself ensnared in a web of vengeance, trapped by the formidable trio of Ava Jerome, Christina Corinthos Davis, and Alexis Davis, who are convinced they've got him firmly under their thumb with no chance of escape. This unlikely alliance has turned Alexis's home into a makeshift prison, where Rick is bound and isolated, paying the price for his past manipulations and betrayals that have scarred so many lives in Port Charles. The women believe their plan is foolproof, having orchestrated his abduction with precision to extract information, or simply to deliver a dose of long overdue justice. Yet, as the days drag on, subtle hints of Rick's cunning nature begin to surface, a slight twitch in his restraints, a calculated glance that suggests he's not as defeated as he appears. This setup draws from Rick's history as a slick attorney who's always one step ahead, but now he's facing opponents who match his ruthlessness, including Ava Street's smart survival instincts and Alexis's legal acumen sharpened by years of courtroom battles, inventing a layer of tension. Perhaps Rick has been whispering taunts through his gag, trying to sow discord among his captors, reminding Christina of her own family fractures or poking at Ava's insecurities about her daughter Avery. The scene paints a vivid picture of power dynamics shifting in unexpected ways, highlighting how old grudges in Port Charles never truly fade, but instead fester into dramatic confrontations that keep fans hooked. This week promises a seismic shift in the storyline, as Rick Lansing orchestrates a daring breakout from his confines, turning the tables in a heart-pounding confrontation with Alexis that leaves her paralyzed with fear, a knife pressed dangerously close to her throat. The build-up to this moment has been brewing ever since Ava slyly slipped a potent sleeping pill into Rick's drink, lulling him into what she assumed was a deep, unbreakable slumber before she stepped out, confident in her handiwork. left alone to handle her own pressing matters, including poring over the intricate details of Monica Quartermain's impending will reading, which could redistribute fortunes and ignite new family feuds among the Quartermains. Alexis lets her guard down, sinking into the familiar comfort of her living room sofa. Unseen and underestimated, Rick has been methodically chipping away at his bonds during his captivity, using every ounce of his resourcefulness, perhaps even fashioning a makeshift tool from a loose nail in the basement wall, or exploiting a momentary lapse when Christina checked on him earlier. His escape unfolds like a thriller sequence, with Rick navigating the shadows of the house, his footsteps muffled on the creaky floors, heart racing as he seizes a kitchen knife from a nearby drawer, transforming it into a weapon of terror. Adding inventive depth, imagine Rick pausing in the hallway, overhearing snippets of Alexis's phone call about the will, fueling his rage and giving him insider knowledge he could later use as leverage. If he survives this ordeal, the confrontation erupts suddenly, with Rick looming behind her, the cold blade against her skin, his voice a venomous whisper recounting their shared history of betrayals. From his schemes against her daughters to the legal wars they've waged, the horror of this attack is poised to unearth deep-seated traumas for Alexis, potentially reigniting the flames of PTSD from her harrowing past encounters that have left invisible scars on her psyche. This isn't just a physical threat, it's a psychological assault that echoes the nightmarish violence she endured at the hands of her late ex-husband, Julian Jerome, whose volatile temper and criminal ties once held her in a grip of constant dread, including a chilling incident where he wielded a similar weapon in a fit of jealousy. Layering on more emotional weight, Alexis's memories flood back to the brutal slaying of her own mother by the infamous Helena Casadini, a merciless act executed with a dagger to the throat in a display of Casadini cruelty that has haunted the family for generations, complete with Helena's mocking laughter echoing in Alexis's nightmares. Inventing new elements, perhaps in this moment of terror, Alexis flashes back to invented childhood scenes, where she witnessed Helena's manipulations firsthand, or even a previously unexplored detail where Julian once confessed his regrets in a vulnerable letter she kept hidden. These recollections amplify the stakes, showing how Port Charles's history of violence weaves through personal lives like a dark thread, making Alexis's vulnerability all the more poignant as she grapples with the fear that history is repeating itself in her own home. Just when the situation seems dire, Ava Jerome's impeccable sense of timing comes into play, swooping in like a guardian force to interrupt Rick's menacing assault and turn the tide in a display of her unyielding ferocity. Spoilers hint that Ava, ever the vigilant schemer, returns to Alexis's residence at the perfect moment, perhaps drawn back by an instinctive hunch or a forgotten item from her earlier visit, only to stumble upon the chaotic scene of Rick holding Alexis at knife point. With her reputation as a survivor who's navigated mob wars and gallery intrigues, Ava doesn't hesitate. She could lunge forward with the improvised weapon like a heavy vase from the mantel, or draw upon her concealed carry habits, pulling out a small pistol she's kept hidden in her purse since her days dodging threats from the Jerome crime family. The intervention unfolds in a flurry of action, Ava disarming Rick with a swift kick or a well-placed strike, her eyes blazing with protective fury as she shields her ally. Together, Ava and Alexis overpower him in a tense struggle, dragging his resisting form back down to the basement depths, where they reinforce his restraints with layers of unyielding duct tape wrapped twice over, and a makeshift ball gag fashioned from household items to silence his protests. Inventing further details, envision Ava taunting Rick with quips about his failed escape, reminding him of his own history of captivity plots, while Alexis catches her breath, the two women sharing a moment of solidarity that strengthens their bond amid the adrenaline rush. Even with his bold escape attempt foiled, Rick Lansing's ordeal in captivity is far from concluded. As the scales of karma demand he face the full weight of his past misdeeds, before any chance of freedom emerges on ABC General Hospital. This latest aggression against Alexis only cements his position as a prisoner, with the women likely tightening their security measures, perhaps installing additional locks or enlisting Christina's help to monitor him around the clock. Rick's history of scheming, from framing innocent people in court to his obsessive pursuits that have endangered lives, piles up like evidence in a trial, ensuring that his captors feel justified in prolonging his suffering. Adding inventive twists, maybe during his brief freedom, Rick managed to scratch a desperate message on the wall, a clue that could later unravel the plot if discovered, or he overhears plans about the will that tie into larger Quartermain scandals. involving hidden heirs or disputed assets. As Rick is once again secured in the shadows of Alexis's basement, the intrigue builds around the possibility that an outsider could stumble upon his hidden captivity, raising questions about whether they'd offer rescue or simply walk away, reveling in his misfortune. The setup is ripe for discovery, with strange thumps or muffled cries echoing from below, drawing curious ears to investigate the source and uncover the shocking sight of Rick trussed up like a trophy of revenge. Sonny Corinthos, a frequent visitor to Alexis's domain due to their shared parenting of Christina, emerges as a prime candidate, his deep-seated hatred for his half-brother, stemming from years of betrayals including Rick's attempts to undermine Sonny's empire, would probably elicit a smirk of satisfaction, prompting him to congratulate Alexis on her ingenuity and leave Rick to stew without a second thought. Carly Corinthos Spencer might also drop by, her visits fueled by mutual suspicions in the ongoing investigation into Drew Kane Quartermain's shooting, where both women navigate alibis and alliances. For Carly, finding Rick in such a humiliating state would be poetic justice, harkening back to 2003 when he imprisoned her during her pregnancy in a deranged bid to claim her unborn child. A trauma that still lingers. She'd likely savor the irony, perhaps snapping a photo for her own amusement before sauntering out, ensuring his torment continues. Other figures in Port Charles could inadvertently cross paths with this secret, each bringing their unique perspectives and histories that color their potential reactions to Rick's plight. Jason Morgan, with his stoic demeanor and long-standing disdain for Rick's manipulative ways, might simply roll his eyes at the spectacle, turning on his heel without interference, his loyalty to Sonny and Carly outweighing any sense of mercy. Michael Corinthos, ever the protective son, could poke around with questions if he hears the noises, but given Rick's role in past family upheavals like the custody battles over Avery, he'd refrain from calling authorities or lending aid, perhaps even advising Alexis to keep him locked away longer. Nina Reeves, as Ava's closest confidant, and a woman who's tangled with Rick's schemes in the publishing world, would probably burst into laughter at the sight, sharing a conspiratorial joke with Ava about Karma's sweet revenge, before sealing the basement door shut once more, inventing additional layers. Picture a scenario where one of these discoverers accidentally leaves behind a clue, like a dropped phone or a overheard conversation, that sets off a chain reaction leading to broader exposure of the captivity plot, potentially involving the PCPD or escalating into a full-blown scandal that rocks the Corinthos and Davis families. Next, we will explore the dramatic resurrection of Nathan West and the swirling fan concerns about how this twist could shatter young James's world in Port Charles. 7 years have passed since the tragic moment when Nathan West fell victim to a fatal shooting at the hands of the notorious Caesar Faison, an event that ripped through the hearts of those closest to him, leaving his devoted wife Maxie Jones in a state of profound grief and their unborn son James to enter the world without ever knowing the warmth of his father's embrace. This heartbreaking loss transformed Maxie into a pillar of strength, raising James on tales of Nathan's bravery as a dedicated detective who put his life on the line to protect the innocent, turning him into a legendary figure in the boy's imagination through faded photographs and bedtime stories whispered in the quiet of their home. Now, in a bold narrative pivot that only a soap like ABC General Hospital could deliver, Nathan has clawed his way back from the presumed dead, emerging with a veil of amnesia that clouds his memories and complicates his re-entry into the lives he left behind, inventing fresh layers to this comeback. Perhaps Nathan's survival involved a secretive underground clinic, run by shadowy Casadini operatives, where he was patched up and hidden away, his mind fragmented by experimental treatments that left him a shell of the hero he once was. The anticipated joyous reunion, filled with tears and embraces, has instead unraveled into a labyrinth of suspicion and unease, as subtle cues hint at something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface, challenging the very essence of who Nathan is and what his return truly means for his family. What began as a beacon of hope for Maxie and James quickly morphed into a shadowy nightmare, with eagle-eyed viewers catching those chilling, wordless exchanges between Nathan and Britt Westburn that screamed of hidden agendas and unspoken alliances. Britt's lack of genuine shock at his appearance, coupled with Nathan's sly, almost predatory grin that flickered across his face like a warning sign, has ignited whispers of a villainous transformation, suggesting that his time away might have twisted his moral compass or that he could be an imposter. Wearing Nathan's familiar features, this dark undercurrent has fans on edge, fearing that the noble cop they mourned has returned as a puppet in someone else's game. Perhaps brainwashed by Faison's lingering influence or entangled in Britt's web of deceit. From their shared past as siblings with complicated loyalties, adding inventive depth, imagine Nathan slipping in cryptic comments during his interactions, referencing forgotten cases from his detective days, but with a cold detachment that hints at reprogrammed allegiances, or subtle physical tells like a scar from his death wound that doesn't quite match the autopsy reports, fueling theories that he's been altered in a mad scientist's lab, reminiscent of classic GH madcap plots. These elements have transformed what could have been a feel-good revival into a tense thriller, leaving audiences to question if Nathan's amnesia is a convenient cover for darker impulses that could upend the stability Maxie has painstakingly built for their son. The outpouring of fan anxiety reached a fever pitch on social media, particularly in a poignant Facebook post, where a dedicated viewer shared a touching image of young James alongside a photo of Nathan, in his police uniform, accompanied by a heartfelt plea that captured the raw emotion of the moment. In this emotional outcry, the fan delved into James's innocent perspective, describing how the boy has idolized his absent father as an unbeatable hero, who sacrificed everything in the line of duty, even before James took his first breath, building an unbreakable bond through Maxie's stories and a cherished scrapbook of newspaper clippings highlighting Nathan's heroic deeds. The core worry echoed through the words. The devastating impact of Nathan's return reveals him as anything less than the paragon James envisions, potentially scarring the child's psyche forever and stripping away the pure wonder of his father's legacy. Inventing additional elements. Perhaps the fan referenced an imagined scene where James clutches a toy badge, pretending to solve crimes just like his dad, only to face the horror of learning that same hero might now embody the very evil he fought against, raising questions about how a 7-year-old processes such betrayal in a town like Port Charles, where family secrets often explode into public spectacles. The post culminated in a somber speculation that once innocence is shattered, there's no simple path to mend it, leaving James adrift in a sea of confusion and loss that no amount of therapy or Maxie's love could fully heal. Echoing this sentiment, a chorus of other fans chimed in with their own takes, amplifying the debate and revealing the deep divisions within the General Hospital community over this controversial storyline. One commenter lamented that poor James would emerge as one mixed-up little boy, his world turned upside down by the emotional whiplash of gaining a father, only to question his true nature, while another held out hope that if Nathan's villainy stems from brainwashing, perhaps a residual effect of Faison's psychological torment or a new plot involving Dr. Obrick's experiments, he could eventually be redeemed through love and intervention, restoring some semblance of family harmony. The backlash grew heated, with frustrated voices decrying the cruel writing that toys with a child's emotions for dramatic effect, accusing the show's scribes of prioritizing shock value over sensitive storytelling, inventing new reactions. Envision a fan thread where someone shares a fan art drawing of James looking bewildered at a shadowy Nathan figure, sparking discussions about how this mirrors real-life traumas of parental disillusionment, or another poster inventing a petition to the writers demanding a gentler resolution that protects James's character arc. Amid the criticism, lighter perspectives emerged, with one viewer reminding everyone that it's a soap, not real life, where resurrections and twists are par for the course, and another injecting humor by noting that James, as a fictional character, won't need actual counseling, though the emotional investment from fans feels profoundly real. The online discourse highlighted a fractured fan base, where passionate defenses of the plot clashed with outright rejection, creating a vibrant tapestry of opinions that underscores the show's ability to provoke strong reactions. Some supporters urged patience, insisting that the story deserves time to unfold, potentially leading to triumphant moments of redemption that make the darkness worthwhile, while detractors vented their disdain with blunt declarations like "I hate this story," viewing it as a needless complication that dishonors Nathan's original heroic exit. Harsh critiques flew, with one fan quipping that these writers must be on drugs for concocting such a polarizing arc, perhaps alluding to the outlandish elements that have defined GH's wilder eras, like island adventures and cryogenic freezes. Inventing further engagement. Picture a subgroup of fans organizing a virtual watch party to dissect episodes, debating whether Nathan's smirk hints at a twin switcheroo, a classic soap trope, or if Britt's involvement ties back to an unexplored Westburn family secret involving hidden siblings or lost inheritances. This split reflects the broader appeal of General Hospital, where bold risks can either alienate or captivate, but always spark conversation that keeps the community buzzing. At the heart of these fears lies a unanimous agreement among fans: exploiting children like James in villain-centric narratives crosses an unforgivable line, inflicting unnecessary cruelty that taints the escapist joy of daytime drama. Whether Nathan proves to be a genuine villain forged by his ordeals, or merely a pawn in a larger scheme of manipulation, possibly orchestrated by lingering Faison loyalists or Brit's own ambitions, the consensus is that dragging an innocent boy through this emotional minefield risks permanent damage to his character's spirit and the viewer's investment. Inventing a poignant close, fans might rally around the idea that James deserves a storyline of wonder and discovery, perhaps uncovering positive aspects of Nathan's past through invented letters or videos left behind, rather than the pain of disillusionment. This twist serves as a reminder of soap opera's power to mirror life's complexities, but also the responsibility to handle young characters with care. What are your thoughts on Nathan's return and its impact on James? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for more in-depth spoilers from ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel, where the drama never dies.